We left off here. We were talking about the structure of the large intestine. Large intestine is also called the colon. And the colon not only has these different regions, but the colon has got kind of a funny appearance. And the parts of that appearance, they actually have names. So one of the things that you'll notice is that, there is a sort of a bunched or a puckered appearance of the entire large intestine that the small intestine doesn't have. The small intestine, when you pull it out of a body, it just kind of looks like a relatively smooth, muscular, hose-like tube. But the colon doesn't look like that. The colon's got all of these like pouches, these little puckered areas. And the way it looks that way is because it actually is that way. There is a band of smooth muscle that is known as the taenia coli that runs on either side. Here it's on one side, here you see it on the back side, on either side of the colon. But this band of smooth muscle, it's not found on this part, for example. And so when it contracts, and it's generally going to be contracted while you're alive, even if you're anesthetized, while that band of muscle is contracted, it creates this puckering of the rest of the colon. So the band of smooth muscle on either side, thick band, is called the taenia coli. Those little puckered areas are known as haustra. That's plural. A single one is called a haustrum. So colon, kind of a funny structure. Oh, one more thing about the colon. The colon, almost all anatomy and physiology textbooks will tell you that the job of the colon is to absorb water from, whatever it is that's going to become feces. It does absorb water, but that's not its major job. The major job of the colon is actually to grow bacteria. Yeah, your body deliberately grows bacteria in this structure called the colon, including the cecum, and we will be talking about that a little bit when we get to lecture. A little bit more about accessory organs. I wanted to tell you something about the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. Now, this image that you've got on this slide, it shows you everything kind of spaced out. You've got the liver here with the gallbladder attached to its underside. We've got the stomach. I guess the esophagus would have gone here. And behind the stomach, we've got the pancreas. And then starting right about here, we've got the duodenum. So all of this. Now, in your lab, you've got a lab model that shows kind of this appearance, except for most of the liver has been cut away. Most of the liver is gone. And the stomach is also gone. So allow me to show you that. Go here to your Canvas page, to the Anatomy of Models website, digestive system, and then you've got this weird looking model. There you go. So this is that. Here we've got the pancreas. Oh, sorry. Here you've got the pancreas right there. Out here, this is the spleen. Spleen's often depicted as purple. Here you've got the spleen. I wish I could make this purple. These things that are sort of a tan color, that's a kidney with an adrenal gland on it. Hiding behind the spleen, that's a kidney with an adrenal gland on it. And here we see the pancreas right here. Pancreas is right here. And this is the duodenum, but the stomach should have been sitting right here, but of course it would have gotten in the way if it had been there. Here's a little chunk of liver, just the chunk of liver that the gallbladder is attached to. I agree. It is a difficult model to orient yourself to, but this structure of the digestive tract is super important. And if everything was still there, well, it'd be hard to see what we want to point out to you. So what do you need to know here? This green structure is called the gallbladder. bile gets stored and the water kind of gets sucked out of it while it's stored in the gallbladder. The bile that's been concentrated here in the gallbladder is going to leave the gallbladder through this tube that is called the cystic duct. Here we go. Cystic duct. The cystic duct will join up with this tube right here that is called the common bile duct. The common bile duct. Now, honestly, when I point to the common bile duct, I'll usually point to this area down here. What did they say that? Yeah, common bile duct. Just because it's easier for me to actually point to something real directly. Okay, so gallbladder, cystic duct, common bile duct. But before the cystic duct joins in, this tube is called the common hepatic duct. And the common hepatic duct is formed by the left and right hepatic ducts. I believe for AP 120, you need to know the common hepatic duct, and where the common hepatic duct joins the cystic duct, where they come together is called the common bile duct, and the common bile duct goes all the way down here and drops the bile off into the duodenum. This is just a little chunk of liver. Here we've got the pancreas, so this whole structure is called the pancreas. This white tube you see running through the center of the pancreas is called the pancreatic duct. Good. I think that's all that you need to know off of this particular model. Oh, but we do need to look at the liver. Let's try to find the liver. Good. Here is the liver. This is one of our large livers. This is anterior, so this would be right where your abs are. That is posterior, and that is the vena cava. This is the gallbladder. That right there would be the cystic duct, so that would be the common hepatic duct. And the common bile duct you can't really see on this particular image. With the liver model, you'll need to know the gallbladder, the cystic duct, the common hepatic duct. You also need to know that this is the right liver lobe. No, sorry, they don't have that labeled. But this big part of the liver is called the right lobe. This small part is called the left lobe. There are two other lobes that you won't need to know unless you take AP 150. Let's see what this one says. No. So this is the right lobe, this is the left lobe. The small lobe is the left lobe. Great. All right, back to our PowerPoint. So this would be the left lobe. This is the left lobe. This is the right lobe, gallbladder. That part right there would be the cystic duct. There you've got the common hepatic duct where they come together. All of this is the common bile duct. The common bile duct joins up with the pancreatic duct so that both juices from the pancreas and bile can be dropped into this structure, the duodenum. Now, this is our last model that we need to look at. And this is what things would look like if you were shrunken down so that you were microscopically small. You can almost see individual cells here, like right there, that blue cell, that blue cell, that blue cell. Those are individual cells. So we're really shrunk down. This is what we might see through the microscope. This is an image that I stole somewhere off the internet. So for AP 120, you don't need to know all of these anatomical parts. The ones that you don't specifically need to know are the ones that have been grayed out. Make sure that you know this, that the inner lining of the intestine is made out of finger-like projections. Now here, this is a lab model, so it looks like they're all smooshed together, but in real life, they look like delicate carpet fibers. Like they just look like carpet fibers. They don't actively move. They're just kind of like seaweed floating around inside of the fluid that's inside of your intestinal tract. So that is a villus, that is a villus, That is a villus. So number one is pointing to the villi. Then in the center of each villus, there is this tube. It's often depicted as green, in this case, a mint green, and that is called the lacteal. The lacteal is the beginning of a lymphatic capillary. All of the fat that you absorb from your meal is going to be grabbed by these cells here and tucked into the lacteal. Here we've got capillaries. All of the amino acids and sugars you absorb from your meals, those are going to be grabbed by these cells that make up the outside of the villus and put into the capillary of the villus. This whole structure would be the entire wall of the intestine. So if I took that intestine and cut it and then just cut one little chunk of the wall and looked at it through the microscope, it's got three different layers. The three different layers are this layer from the tip of the villus to this band of muscle is called the layer, the mucosa. Okay, all the way from here down to there, that whole bit is called the mucosa. The submucosa goes from this band of muscle to this thick layer of muscle. All of this is called the submucosa. And then all of this down here is called the muscularis layer. All right, so three layers. The mucosa is close to where your food is, submucosa right below it, muscularis, that's the layer of muscle. Now, the muscularis has got two different layers of muscle. This inner layer goes around every section of intestine, and that's the circular layer for obvious reasons. And this outer layer, it runs the length of the intestine, and that is called the longitudinal layer. The epithelium that's you would be touching if you were actually touching the outside of someone's intestines, that is called the serosa. One structure inside of the submucosa you need to know is this guy right here, which is not a lymph node. It is called a lymph nodule. It's not organized like a lymph node is, but it is filled up with lymphocytes, so it's called a lymph nodule. Remember our liver sections, common bile duct. And here is that actual lab model that I was showing you. Here we've got the pancreatic duct. This is the duodenum. Here we've got the spleen. Good. Lots of stuff on your PowerPoint slides that you can use for studying, including an image of your teeth and your mandible. All right, that's it for this segment. I hope you enjoy learning all of your digestive system anatomy.